Hi, Amy. This is the fourth time today and probably the seventh time I've tried to make a recording for you, so hopefully I can get through this. How we get our orders comes in many different ways. I have a company who sent me an email and attached the count that they ran within our system. So, as we all know, this is not a valid number, but it's the number they're expecting to mail. So I have recreated the count in ListDirect. So what we need to do is, let's go here. First of all, we want to put the agent in the system. Now this one's already in, so I'm just showing you what we would do. We want first name, last name, address, if there's a second address, city, state, zip, office phone, mobile phone, fax number, or email address. After you put all of that in, you check on you have to go to alter the agent. So this must have been done in two different steps. I have no idea why this happens. So these are just going to Greg, so I need to make sure. Okay, so this is not the agent I need to use. This guy has a group, so he's in there a couple of different ways. And he has a group so that he can move leads around within the LMS. He has a call center, so he has tons of people in there looking at things. Okay, well, that should be him. Okay, so this is the agent I want to use. It's just the Greg Anderson. So what we do is we create a count for him. Now, as you can see, the count is currently being run in ListDirect, so it's an outside system. And when this was originally set up, we did have a separate system. So that's why you've got to put in the information to explain to the person who's pulling the data what data you want. Okay, so Greg is in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 counties in Texas. And yes, the page reloads every time with all the separate zip codes. So this is going to take me just a minute. And this is terribly cumbersome. That's why we created the new system. I'm going to pause this just for a minute so I can get all these put in. You don't have to watch. Okay, so I have all the counties in for this order. As you can see, these pop up as all the zip codes that are available. We do this so that if we need specific zip codes, we can put them in that way. Like I said, since the data is coming from an outside source, we're just trying to get the information conveyed on what data needs pulled. All right, so we've created our count. So now we want to finalize a count. And this is where we go in and do the specifics. So the first step is we find out where we're going to pull the data, and then this count finalization is what data to pull. We've got a date and a time. This is the unique count ID that auto implements. Okay, we are pulling this from ListDirect, so that's the first thing. The list name, what I've named this here when I pulled the count again from ListDirect as opposed to the LMS. So the count number is 6707. The mailer they want to use is that piece. They told me that. It's going to print on white paper. Okay, so this is just for my reference, and if Rick needs to look it up, he can see if there's anything in here. The high end of income was 15,000. These are people ages 64 through 79. All right, so now it's a little tricky. I have to tell it where within the count, specifically what data to pull. Now, I'm going to pause this again so I can figure out which of these records are needed because they think there are only 3,901 records, when in all reality there are 7,368. It's just the difference in the old data and new data. I'll be right back. Okay, so what I did is I exported the count from our system, figured out what the quantities were in each county, and now I know how many pieces to pull from each. So, okay, so in Cass County, I'm going to need 291 records. Now, because I'm pulling this from the full county as opposed to the zip codes, I don't have to say how many are in each zip code. I'm just making this kind of generic. Colin Denton has 595. Ellis has 384. Greg has 775. Harrison has 370. Johnson has 416. Red River has 154. Rockwall has 66. Titus has 153. And Wise has 142. And then I submit it. So I make sure I put these in correctly because here's the number I'm wanting, the 3901. Okay, so from here, I have to create a purchase order from the data that's being pulled. That's the count that I created. I looked at that earlier. Okay, so I need to put an invoice number in here. So I go over to QuickBooks. Don't look at this stuff, please. All right, so I put my name in here just for reference. If anybody needs to look at a previous invoice, they'll know who put it in if there's any questions. Class, we have a couple of different ways that we report. So my class is PowerCom. So when we run reportings, it'll show up as PowerCom. Now the CSRs all have different ways of doing it. Everybody's in their own class. All right, so they are ordering an S&P Snap Pack on white paper. Quality typing. And we always put the PO number on here. Again, for reference, it comes in quite handy. See, today is the 11th, Saturday and Sunday, 12:30, 14, 15. I'm scheduled this for the 16th. We're doing 3 days from when we mail. Put in what counties are being mailed. All right, so now the rate, we just have QuickBooks set up that it automatically populates, the S&P Snap Pack is 51.5 cents a piece. This company has discounted pricing because of the volume they do with us, so I manually change that. And then I save it. So now I've got an invoice number, 5625. And the reason you have to have the invoice number on a PO is to make sure that people are getting charged for everything. It doesn't necessarily have to be this way. What was that? 5625. Now the order that happens in is probably negotiable, but it's our way of making sure that people are paying for the mail going out and that we're keeping track of it. Okay, so my list count was 67. Again, this is just another point of reference. And I don't remember what this mailer has on it. So what I then do is I go to our library. That's in 139, so we can take a look at it. The variable data on this is it needs a phone number, dollar amount. Ooh, which they did not send to me. Okay, so phone number they want to call is 855 622 9926. Is that right? 855 622 9926. Now, I'm going to have to put dollar amounts in here, but that I'll handle that. You don't need to watch that anymore. All right, so now I have the PO number, and it's 133393. So I can go back here and put this on the invoice. And again, if I ever need to look something up for Greg Anderson, I know that I can find it quickly in QuickBooks, sometimes easier than within the system. Send that off to them because they pay on Fridays. Again, that's just something that I know. Open Windows. All right, so now I've got the basic idea of how this is all going to go, but I need to let Rick know what records to pull. So this is where we pull up our handy dandy spreadsheet in Dropbox. All right, today's the 11th. This is PO number 13393. This is an S&P mailing. This is put in by counties, their ages. Account number was 6707. It's S&P Greg Anderson, Texas. Number of records in the order 63. Whatever. Okay, now I go back to this. S has 291 records. Allen has 555. Clinton has 595. Ellis has 384. The reason we do this is so that Rick can look at all of them and see which counts to merge together to make it the most cost-effective pull. And because age costs a different amount than date of birth, if there's ever telephone numbers needed. We do not need the mailing list from this. I'm going to put it in case he has any questions. And the agent number is 113. And now the reason we put that in there is for when I go back in and populate the maps and make the LMS work. Okay, so that's how we put in an order with the current process we're using with ListDirect. All right, so now we also, the way that we used to function for a long time was this way. Anderson, Greg. I'm going to put in telemarketing because I'm going to help the LMS work. But normally it would be S&P. I'm in Texas. I want to know the counties I need. Cass, Colin, Denton, Ellis, Greg, Harrison, Johnson, Red River, Rockwall, Titus, and Wise. All right, now they are not particular on this. So put all of this in. These are ages 64 to 79. Income less than 15,000. Suppress against everybody and save. So now I'm running a count based on the data that we have sitting in our system instead of going back and forth from two different places. Okay, because I ran this based on telemarketing, which is how the suppressions work. You don't need to suppress everything against each other. We can just suppress certain ones. The only images that are going to pop up here are the ones that are associated with that. If I'd have ran this for S&P, the only options would have been S&P cards. Okay, so and at the same time, right here with the invoice number, that is where the data won't pull if there's not an invoice number. And that's a way of keeping people from putting in orders that aren't paid for. All right, so we have 291, 955, 995. Because I don't need to specify which zip codes, so I can just pull randomly from the counties. That's now if I needed certain areas, you go in and put these in, be as specific as it needs to be. And Titus gets 153, and Wise gets 142, and you hit place order. And then as it's right now, what it's doing is it's actually pulling the data from our system and marking it so that any suppressions that are going to be on there will show up. All right, well, it's going to go slow. But what comes back is something that looks like this. We've got the PO number that all of our mailing data and all of our tracking works from, which is actually going to, I go back and rematch them all up to the old system that we just went through. It tells us the agent name, the piece type, the actual piece, and the person's name. It would have a phone number and a dollar amount in with this piece. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm sorry it's long, but you're aware that this is a very cumbersome thing that we've got here. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye, Amy.